If you've been following my channel for a while, you might remember this pin. It is a resin impregnated cholla cactus. When I started the pin, I had a full blank top and bottom half that were identical, but I blew one of them up and I don't remember if it was the top or the bottom. So I grabbed another piece of resin impregnated cholla and turned the other half of the pin. The pin turned out really nice, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's two different blanks. So what we're going to do today is I have this Ken Frisbie Micarta blank. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to disassemble this pin. I've got a brand new set of cigar tubes, and we are going to set up to turn new blanks for this pin out of micarta. I've marked the blank for my tubes, and we're ready to cut it to length. I'm going to use a starter bit to get my hole started in this micarta blank. I've got my 10mm drill bit chucked up, and we're going to go ahead and complete the holes through the blanks. I've got my tubes roughed up and plugged with Play-Doh. Got my resin ready to go. We're going to mix it up and get these tubes glued into these blanks. I've got the tubes glued into my blanks. With my micarta, when I drilled it, the tubes did not want to easily go into the blank. I have a feeling there was a lot of tension released as I drilled through the material. That's why I brought the 2x4 over so that I could force the tube into the blank. And we've got both tubes level with the blank. So once that epoxy dries, we should be ready to turn with no issue. I need to square these micarta blanks to prepare them for turning. And you can see I left quite a bit of extra material on one end. Instead of trying to sand that all the way down, I'm going to go ahead and trim it off on the bandsaw, and then we'll head over to the disc sander and square the blanks to the tube. I've got my first blank on the lathe. We're ready to turn it. This is the cap blank of the cigar pin, and you probably noticed the little dimples that I put in my bushings, 3 and 4. You might remember from a previous video, I always get the bushings mixed up for my cigar pins, so I took a Dremel and I marked them. The nib has 1, and then the back half of the nib has 2. The front half of the cap is 3, and the back end of the cap where the clip goes is 4. So that way, all I have to do is line my blank up and then plug my bushings in from nib to cap, and I always get them in the right order. This blank is turning quite nice, so the skew is making quick work of it. I did notice my skew starting to drag just a little bit, so I'm going to take it over to the strop and strop it, but I really like how this blank looks. I'm very happy how this blank turned out. I initially thought that I would just bring the micro mesh in and micro mesh it because I got such a nice cut with the skew, but I am worried about tool marks. As I feel from end to end, I can kind of feel a little dimple, especially right about there, and I want to make sure that this blank is flat all the way, from the cap to the center band. I want it to be flat and smooth because even if you don't really feel that, the light will catch it and it will just not look right to you. So subconsciously, you'll see that the blank is not perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the 120 grit sandpaper. I'm going to sand through either 4 or 600. We'll see what it looks like when I get to 4 and make that decision. Then we'll come back and micro mesh our blank. I'm real happy with how this looks. I don't think we're going to put a CA finish on it. I think I'm going to try this one just polishing it, and then we'll hit it with some of our wax, our Renaissance wax, and see what it looks like. If we need to, we can always come back and put a CA finish, but since it's stabilized, I don't think we're going to need to. My preferred method for removing tool marks from a blank is relatively simple. I use another blank. This is an acrylic blank, and this blank was cast in an HDPE mold, and the bottom here was against the mold, so it is perfectly flat. I'll wrap a piece of sandpaper around it, and then I can sand my blank. As I do, you'll notice shiny rings on the blank. Those shiny rings are the tool marks we need to remove. Sand your blank using the acrylic blank until the entire blank is scuffed and there are no shiny rings. At that point, you no longer need the acrylic blank. You can sand normally with the rest of your sandpaper grits. The lathe is running at about 840 RPMs, and I'm just going to begin sand. This is also nice for kind of shaping a blank. Like you can kind of work the curve and get a nice curve. But as we sand, you'll see kind of shiny right there still. I need to continue to work that area. We'll just rotate the sandpaper. And we're going to continue to do that until the entire blank is scuffed. Notice how shiny that is? Tool mark. I'll come back and show you the blank once I've completed sanding. I think we're ready to go ahead and micro mesh. I'm going to run through the micro mesh pads. Then we're going to come back, and I think I'm going to just go ahead and try some magic juice to polish this up instead of going with the Renaissance wax. We'll see how that looks, and if it looks nice, then we'll turn the front half of the pin and repeat that process. Here's a quick peek at the blank. I sanded it to 600. I then ran through all of the micro mesh pads using them wet, and I followed that up with the 6-step magic juice. I like how the blank looks. It's a very interesting blank. I'm going to go ahead and get it off the lathe now. We're going to get the lower blank on, and we're going to turn that. Now, I will film turning the lower blank, but if everything goes as smooth as it did with this blank, I'm probably not going to show that. We'll jump straight to the assembly. We're ready to begin the assembly of our pin. I've laid out all of the parts in the order they go on. Now, many times these kits come and things are already pre-assembled. This kit was not. So we're going to go ahead and thread the front grommet into the nib. We'll place that into the front of our blank. We're going to leave our bushing on there for protection. And we're ready to press. Turned out really nice. I'll make sure the nib is good and tight. Now we need to press the grommet into the back end of the lower blank, and this is what our transmission threads onto, and you can see those are very fine threads. We need to protect those, and you've probably seen me use this in one of my other videos where I press together a cigar pin, but it's just a leftover piece of a blank, and I drill a hole in it just large enough to cover those threads, but small enough to where it can press against that shoulder. And this allows us to efficiently press the grommet into the back of the blank without damaging the threads, because if you damage the threads, your blank is shot. Okay, we've got a really nice fit. Let's go ahead now, and we are going to put the ink refill into the blank. Here's my spring. This end of the spring is a little larger than this end. I always like to put, let's get that little rubber ball off there. I always like to put the smaller spring end onto the refill. Put that into our blank, and we will thread our transmission on. The nice thing about these cigars is whether you turn it left or right, it will eject your ink. Let's start working on the body blank. Let's press the components into our cap. We're going to start with the lower end of the cap blank, which is the larger end. It's got this nice little trim ring. Now this came disassembled. I had to just put this little chrome ring onto this piece. Just look at your instructions closely to make sure you get everything where it goes. We'll pop that into here. And we're ready to press the trim ring into the cap blank. That went nice and smooth. Got a great fit. Let's get the last bushing out of the way. It's time now to put the cap and the clip on. We take this piece, we're going to drop our clip onto it, and we're going to tighten down the cap, and now we're going to press this into our blank. Take a look at your blank and make sure there are no issues anywhere. Blank looks pretty good. I think I'm going to press it right here. It's kind of nice. Notice how you got kind of that pattern on both sides? I think that looks pretty cool. Pop this into the press. There we go. Well, that popped a little harder than I thought, but went well. Look at that. We've got a great fit. Let's go ahead now, and let me see. Here we go. Is it this way or this way? It's this way. With the pin closed, I'm just going to align my blanks. And there we have it. A really nice pin. The micarta was fun to turn, and I love how the pin turned out. I would like to thank everyone for joining me for the turning of this incredible Ken Frisbie micarta blank. I was a little nervous when I first started this project because I just didn't know how the micarta would turn, but I think taking the corners off of it made an incredible difference. The skew just peeled away the material, left such a nice finish, and I have got a gorgeous pen. I would love to thank everybody for joining me for this video. If you'd like any information on Ken Frisbie, I will put all of his contact information in the video description. I'd like everybody out there to know that, as always, you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening.